Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff. This is going to be a bit of a different video, so hang in there with me. I have recently seen an enormous amount of videos out there where people are discussing their compilations, people in their car, people at home, people in the supermarket, people walking around, frustration, anger, walking through parks, screaming, what have you, about the current cost of living crisis. I make this video out of the kindness of my heart because I know that regardless of how big I wish this channel was and how wide the reach could be, that only a small fraction of people will watch. And from them, only a small amount of people from there will actually pay attention. A lot of people through my life and life in general, I've realized, think that things don't apply to them until they actually apply to them. That is to say, you might have heard recently from a number of friends, if you are watching this channel or if you are subscribed here, I assume you are in the financial world, the cryptocurrency world, something to do with finance. And as such, being in this world, you have probably gotten into finance because you realize that finance affects you. Let me explain. You understood a while ago what inflation was, why property prices continue to rise, why Bitcoin's price rises. All these things become a nice little soup of finance, and you go, I need to make sure that I outpace inflation. And this is back when inflation was like around 2%. So you got into the market to be able to make enough money so that eventually at some point you can take that money out, what have you, whatever your investment strategy might be, so that you can buy a home, you can buy some stocks, you can buy some land, whatever your thing might actually be. I've been discussing finance with friends and family for at least a decade plus now. And imagine my surprise when like 3 people have actually listened to me, like a hard 3, like 1, 2, 3, period. No more after that. I remember years ago, I told a story on this channel where I was discussing with an old friend who no longer talks to me because he thought I was talking down to him. He came into some money, wasn't a lot, it was high 5 figures. And I was explaining to him that he should put his money into I almost said a multiverse. Yeah, kind of. He should put his money into a mutual fund or some type of a stock that will give him passive income so that his life would slowly become easier. I told him to kind of let it roll over, all the money that he got every couple of months, let it roll over, buy more stock until eventually you realize in 5 to 10 years, you're making so much money from passive income that you can like take it a bit more easy, or you have extra money to be able to buy groceries, pay off your rent, pay off all of your bills, something. This is kind of the thing I told him. I remember telling this on this channel. And instead, he took all of that money and he put it into a CD, a certificate of deposit. And he told me that he was really happy because the bank was giving him a 0.1% interest rate for a 5-year lockup. And I was like, why did you do that? He was like, because they told me it was a great fiscal responsibility thing that I was doing. And so he completely went around the fact that I told him I could get him stocks that would normally give him 5 to 6% of a yearly return just from the dividends. But of course, he didn't hear that. When I say that people don't pay attention to things that they think won't affect them, a lot of these videos that I'm seeing are by people who did not, this is my opinion. This is as someone who's been in finance for a while, who has literally had YouTube channels talking about finance for 7, almost 8 years, and who's been talking to friends and family for a very long time. People don't want to hear it because they think it will never affect them. I know a couple of people still now who have no retirement savings. None. 0. I had a dinner a couple of months ago where I was sitting down with people. This is a 1,000% true story. They all are. All my stories are true, but understand this one blew my mind. Sitting there having dinner with about 3 or 4 other people. I can't remember the size of the table. And we were all talking about stuff, the normal adult stuff. I got to go buy groceries. I got to go buy this. And at some point I was discussing, I was like, yeah, what's happening in the markets is really weird. And they looked at me like, And I was like, yeah, there's a lot of people getting laid off now, and there's all these things happening in the tech sector. And they went, And I was like, yeah, I hope you guys have enough money that you've saved, that you've put away. The table got quiet, silent. And I was like, you guys have money that you put away, right? And they were like, one of them was like, yeah, I have 300 that I put away for like a rainy day. That is to say 300, not 300K. And the other two were like, we don't have any savings at all. For clarity, these are people who I know are never going to watch this channel. However, these people were 39 to around the age of 45. And upon finding that they had no savings and no money put away, I decided to be like, hey, I'm right here. I can help you out with your money problems. And I went on a ramble telling them how to put their money away. If they could afford it, to put 250, 300 bucks away every single month. It adds up, especially as we get closer to the retirement age. And they were like, no, I think I'm good. I think one of these people ended up losing their jobs like a couple of months later. And I saw them and you can only give condolences. You can't be like, what have you. A lot of the people, in my opinion, on my channel, who are currently going through the roughest portion of the cost of living crisis are people who saw years ago, I'll give you a good decade, 10 years ago, that the economy wasn't too hot or was just coming out of it, and they decided not to save, not to put money away, not to invest, not to stop buying the things that they did not need. I make this video out of the kindness of my heart because I want you to understand that if this is your first time here, or if this is your repeat time here, or if you are a subscriber, there will at some point be another economic meltdown, crash down, collapse, stock market crash, stock market recession, whatever you want to call it. It's going to happen. How do I know this? Because they happen in cycles and have been happening since like the early 1900s, even before. We've seen market crashes since the 1700s over in Europe. So of course, they're going to happen again. That's how the market is structured. It's always the same. You need to, in the nicest way, for those of you who are currently really going through it, you are going to continue going through it until you change something about your finances. The vast majority, and I've looked at, I want to say a good 50 videos. I watch these videos, or sometimes they're compilations of people like they smashed together where they're talking about their economic plights and problems that they're having since around 2020. And I'm noticing usually a pattern. And I will say this as well. This video does not apply to people who have kids. That is an entirely different situation. You are in another plane of existence where you are trying to feed and help multiple souls at the exact same time. This goes to people who are single and or coupled up in some sort of way. You have to restructure your life in a completely different way than it currently is right now. A lot of these videos are people sitting in cars, and I've seen the cringiest ones, are people saying that they don't want to change their lives. They don't understand why they can't do the same things that they were doing in 2019. Why can't I go to the movies every weekend? Why can't I eat out with my friends? Why can't I buy the shoes that I want? There was one person, they were crying over the fact that they might have to get rid of some of their streaming platforms. They might have to not buy shoes and clothes as frequently as they were doing. They miss having dinners with their friends. You can invite your friends over. You don't have to go out to Applebee's and spend like $120 to show that you're having a good time. So I have a couple of things, and once again, I say these as nice as possible. You have to learn how to save money, and that goes for everyone. You are first time here or repeat time here. If you do not learn how to save your money, you are going to fall down once again in the same exact situation in about 7 to 10 years from now, because that's usually how the cycles tend to run. In 7 to 10 years, give or take. You have to learn how to not buy everything on impulse. Just because it's shiny and you want it doesn't mean you can get it. I've told people before on this channel and the other channel, I think maybe it seems like a guru thing of some sort. When I buy clothes, I wear them until they're almost literally falling apart. I know that may sound poor to you. I know that may sound like something that you can't simply fathom. I have 3 pairs of shoes that I swap in between, and I typically wear those 3 shoes for like a good 2.5 to 3 year period until they literally are falling apart. I buy 3 more pairs of shoes that are on sale, and I repeat the entire process. The coat that I have, I mentioned it before, was 50 cents. I went to a flea market. The guy had a winter coat. I was like, how much is it? He said 50 cents. I went home and washed it on the highest, hottest setting. I've been using that coat for, it's almost 14 years now. The money that I did save from not buying a brand new coat, from not buying brand new fancy clothing, from wearing these things, the clothing that I have out. A lot of times my shirts or my button-down shirts or my jeans will have holes in them. I sew them up. I know it's not the fanciest thing in the entire world, and a lot of times the illusion of a financial YouTuber is like, whoa, that guy, he's living the high life. I wouldn't say that I'm not, but as far as like the things that go on my body and the things that I do, they're discount and or they're secondhand and or what have you. The money that I do save, however, gets to go into investments. The money that I do save from not buying the fanciest, newest things to be able to show people on Instagram what I have goes into crypto. That allotment of money that I end up having and saving by the end of the year, because all I'm basically doing is working and making videos and stuff all the time, allows me to buy studio apartments. It adds up very, very quick. I don't treat myself to Starbucks. I don't treat myself to all these little magical things. And this is what I think annoys a lot of people. We live in a world that's very stressful. Let's get that completely clear. Our world is not like, utopia. We live in a very stressful world, and people get into the habit of treating themselves because they think, well, I had a bad day. I have to do something nice. I have to order in. I have to get something for myself. I have to buy a new this. I have to buy a new so-and-so. The most shocking part, and I implore all of you to do this, this is where it's going to actually hurt. Go over what you buy over the course of a week. You can even go to your bank account and look at what you bought over the course of this week. And most times we tend to fall into a habit of things that we're buying over and over and over and over and over. Look at all the stuff you bought that you did not need. The candy bars, the bags of chips, the shoes, the clothing, the partying on the weekend. Of course, go partying, have fun with your friends, but it's not needed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can take a couple weeks break. Look at that, can't say it on here, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. Also extremely expensive. Same exact thing with the glug glug. Also extremely expensive. Add all of this up. Add all of it up in a day, and then a week, and then do a month, and then do a year, and then do a decade. You are going to be very sad and upset when you realize off the top of your head what you could remember, the amount of money that basically went out the window that you no longer have, that you could have invested in something else back in good old 2013, 2014, that would probably be worth 6 or 7 plus figures, at least at the time of me making this video. You have to start an emergency fund. I know it's not attractive. I know it's not like, oh my gosh, the problem is that a lot of people did not have an emergency fund when 2020 started and found themselves in a situation where they were like, well, what do I do? If you had been saving for 10 years every single month, you probably would have had maybe at least 6 to 9 months worth of living expenses behind the scenes. That is an emergency fund and not your savings account. They're both very different things. This would have allowed you to have a little bit more breathing room. I have a whole list here. I don't know if I want to go over the entire thing because it's not repetitive, but it's more like it says start investing. You have to start. I think a lot of you here are already investing. So I mentioned before on the other channel very recently. We recently found out, bringing it back. The point is, after all this investing that you've been doing, make sure that it actually goes to something good. I do not want to hear in a couple of years that all the investing that you've been doing was then spent on a Maserati or a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. Buy a home, buy land, Buy something that gives you passive income. Buy investment property. Buy something that is an actual investment. That is a very big topic. Learn how to downsize. This isn't meant to be like me talking down to you. This is simply because like the amount of videos that I've been seeing, like they're not cringeworthy. And once again, this is why it doesn't apply to if you have kids. That's a whole different, you are in a whole different league where you are taking care of multiple other people. But if it's just you and one other person, you really got to get it together. Because the problem is by the time, what is it? By the time we get to the year 2030, there's probably going to be another economic crisis problem. Do you want to be in this exact same situation? Do you want to be sitting here like looking, be like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Like, blah, 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 blah. Life is unpredictable, and you're adding more like unpredictable chips on top of it by being like, well, I'll just see, where the chips fall. And this is not to scare you, but it's only going to actually get worse. If you've been following this channel and the other channel for a while, I'm not a genius. Believe me, I'm not a genius. But we see that inflation was bad years ago, is worse now, and the money printer is going to continue turning on. AI and automation and robots are basically taking over everything. Like, you can't assume that in 10 years that your job is still, I don't care what you do, that your job is going to be secure or whatever the actual case might be, especially if you do anything online, anything that's digital, anything that has to do with teaching. You can program a robot to do that. Turn off Disney Plus, Prime, Netflix. You don't need all of these things. And the issue is that once again, everyone's listening, but the amount of people who actually listen to what I'm saying is very tiny. And these people, in the course of the next 10 years, will have a gigantic nest egg and or investments. And they'll go, whoa, the economic downturn is terrible. Thank goodness I'm getting around $3,000 per month from my investments. This is great. I'm not as worried and scared as I could have potentially be. Like I said, a very different video. We went through this like about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. Similar kind of topic, but now I realize that like the crunch time is actually happening. You cannot let this happen to you again. You cannot. You cannot fall in this situation once more. You got to get your finance together. You got to start writing everything down, understanding what you're spending and how much is also coming in. Do not get yourself in any further debt because you want to try and do something fun. And I saw someone do this online. They were talking about they want to live in the moment. It was a video. Maybe you can find it. It was about Gen Z something or other and how they're living their lives to the fullest. And they're all taking out debt. And I was like, when you guys are in like your 30s and 40s, you're going to be really, really upset that you're like 175,000 in debt because you wanted to go on a cruise or you wanted to climb a mountain and you wanted to live your life. Your bones are hurting. You got to keep working, but you have no money. So bit of a different video. Get it together. Now, there's literally no excuse. We will probably, for those of you who've been here for a while, we will have this talk again during the next bull run when the market's going completely insane. We will have a discussion as to, maybe it's time to step back, cash out a bit, buy some investments to make sure that in the future you are extra secure. I do sincerely hope, regardless of how weird this video was, that you have all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.